Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Noramin bin Muhammad Noor, and I will explain on the introduction for this topic. Background of study. For the background of this study, the restriction of movement, the MCO, implemented affected all sectors including economy, trades and tourism, hospitality and social. This drastic measure taken by the government throughout the world had severely impact including the education and society. The preventive step had forcefully closed the educational system, which plays a major role in shaping our future generation, which is the adolescents. The previous study conducted by Maurizi et al. In 2013 emphasized the importance of addressing adolescents' mental health in effort to promote positive educational outcomes. They also found that social relationships in the family, school and peer context do play a moderating role in the association between depressive symptoms and academic achievement. In another study by Lundstedt et al. In 2013, they conducted a research on influence of social processes study on the mental health in middle adolescents, draws three interconnected main categories, which were social interaction, responsibility, and performance. These three categories are all mainly driven by the educational institution. Having lack of presence of it would negatively lead the adolescents towards depriving in cognitive and mental health. Problem statement. For the statement of problem, WHO is very concerned for the children as they went for a surprise measure by sending messages towards parents to help children find positive ways to express feelings such as fear and sadness. They mention that this is the crucial time where adults have to play the key role, as the children will observe their behaviors and emotions for cues on how to manage their own emotions during this difficult time. As for other concerns, the negative cognitive and mental health development could lead to a bigger problem in the future. With rapid development of changing times caused by the pace of modernization and globalization, it has changed the cognitive and mental growth in adolescents. It will further affected by the restriction of movement. It is somehow a very challenging time for the adolescents to best develop their cognitive abilities and the constructive mental health for their imminent time. The objectives of the study. Number 1, to get evidence on the positive or negative perspective of adolescents on the learning experience during Covid-19 pandemic. Next, to study the emotions of the adolescents on the new norm. Third, to assess the adolescents' experience on their social life in the new norm. Next, to assess the condition of the adolescents' emotion and behaviors. And finally, to get feedback of the adolescents on the effectiveness of the new approach of learning in the new norm condition. The research questions. As for the research questions, number 1, what are the life experiences of secondary school students related to COVID-19, including their concerns about their personal social lifestyle and schooling experience during the new normal? How does the new normal learning experience impact adolescents? What are the impact of COVID-19 on adolescents' mental health and well-being? Next, what kind of support do the adolescents need during this new normal? And finally, does the new approach of learning in new normal is effective enough? Significance of the study. The significance of the study is the main objective of this study is to dig deeper in the adolescents' perspective on the current new norm learning methodology implemented. In the meantime, there are lack of attention highlighted towards the self-growth of the adolescents. There are plenty of concern on how long does this kind of learning will end and thus the current methodology is enough. This study would give a clear vision on the adolescents issue, especially on cognitive and mental health development. The limitation of the study. As for the limitations of the study, The study is conducted in secondary school in Kuala Lumpur for the respondents aged 15 to 17 years old. The students are basically engaged in online classes since the pandemic outbreak and only having a normal school session for about 4 months. This study would not have a precise information of the students from the rural area and lack of internet facilities, whereby they could face a different environment and support system. The students in the city was likely to spend their time in home, while the students in the rural area may have freedom to move around. This would give a difference of handling emotions and social interaction between them.
Salam and hello everyone. My name is Herawati binti Ibrahim. I'm going to present about literature review of our topic New Normal in Education, Understanding the Challenges in Cognitive and Mental Health Development among Secondary School Students. There are 6 sections in this literature review: Introduction, Islamic Perspective of Cognitive Development, Challenges in Cognitive Development of Adolescents, Challenges in Mental Health Development of Adolescents, New Normal and School-Related Stress among High School Students, and Conclusion. So let's take a look at Introduction section. According to Spear, adolescence is a term used to describe a developmental period beginning with the observable physical signs of puberty and ending with attainment of adult social roles and responsibilities. Spear also cited that adolescence is the gradual period of transition from childhood to adulthood, and thus is a process or series of soft events rather being defined by a discrete event or events. According to Kazan and Gudaya, clearly adolescence is a time of marked neurodevelopmental change. According to Stilwell, the changes are from childhood to manhood or womanhood. It is literally a new birth, a time when physical, mental, and moral changes take new departures. The Islamic perspective of cognitive development. According to Abu Bakar, in Islam, no person is obliged to undertake any form of religious obligation or duty compulsorily unless he or she is adequately mentally developed or sound. The implication of this is that a young person who is not mentally developed and cannot therefore independently and decisively discern the good from the bad is not held responsible for his actions. No sin is therefore recorded against him for all his action. In the Quran, Surah An-Nur, verse 58 and 59,
وَإِذَا بَلَغَ الْأَطْفَالُ مِنْكُمُ الْحُلُمَ فَلْيَسْتَأْذِنُوا كَمَا اسْتَأْذَنَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ آيَاتِهِ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ.
In the second verse, there was no exception or specification as to the time for seeking permission. They should now seek permission at all times because they have now come of age both physically and mentally. Now that this basic principle presupposes that the Quran, or rather Islam, considers and recognizes that intellectual maturity, cognitive development, is a stage, like gradual process. This therefore means that the notion of cognitive development has a strong basis in Islam, and that it follows through certain stages to develop to its fullest stage of development. Challenges in cognitive development of adolescents. According to Sanders, there are 3 main areas of cognitive development that occur during adolescence. Adolescents develop more advanced reasoning skills, including the ability to explore a full range of possibilities inherent in a situation, think hypothetically, and use a logical thought process. Adolescents develop the ability to think abstractly. Adolescents move from being concrete thinkers to abstract thinkers who can imagine things not seen or experienced. The third area is the formal operational thinking characteristic of adolescents enables adolescents to think about thinking or metacognition. This characteristic allows you to develop the capacity to think about what they are feeling and how others perceive them. Challenges in mental health development of adolescents. According to Stilwell, the adolescent is in transition from childhood to adult life, and his mental activities are still more or less dependent upon his muscular experience. According to Sanders, emotional competence relates to the ability to manage emotions, whereas social competence focuses on one's ability to relate effectively with others. Management or self-regulation of emotions is an important process in any adolescent. According to Stilwell, as the most striking physical feature at this time is the rapid growth, so the most prominent mental characteristic is emotional instability, which at the beginning quite overshadows the intellectual changes. Covid-19 pandemic has negatively affected the mental health of school children across grade levels due to national closures and home quarantine mandates. New normal and school-related stress among high school students. According to Wellberg, school-related stress refers to stress relevant to academic demands such as high academic expectations from parents, teachers, or themselves. Adolescents employ three common approaches to cope with school-related stress: by prioritizing the future or the present, by making choices, finding their own private sphere to relax, and recovering with family and friends. By their acute reactions to pandemic changes, students are at further risk of heightened stress and engagement in risky health behaviors related to COVID-19. New stresses include social restrictions, lack of physical activity, fear for safety, adjustment in school attendance, uncertainty about college experience, financial concerns, and grieving the loss of important milestone event. Safety isolation protocols in response to the COVID-19 pandemic have had the unintended consequence of social isolation for adolescents, youth who have a developmental need for autonomy and peer connection. Conclusion. According to William et al., school-related stresses can ultimately have a profound impact on mental health, especially if stress goes unrecognized or untreated. As prolonged chronic stress have strong association with mental health disorders, early interventions reaching students in addition to mental health education in high schools can help ameliorate acute school stresses. School isolation during the COVID-19 pandemic can have negative mental health impacts, lead to increased levels of stress, especially among adolescents who are at a point in their development where social interactions are essential. Therefore, early recognition of stress among adolescents may prevent the negative impact of untreated stress may have on physical and mental health in the current COVID-19 climate and later in life. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.
Good day everyone, I'm Jenny here. I'll be presenting on the methodology. Now we will look at the methodology. As for the questionnaire design and survey implementation, this study is basically aimed to obtain a representative sample of adolescents of lower and upper secondary from a particular secondary school situated in Kuala Lumpur. Therefore, an online questionnaire was designed in Google Form and done on 50 participants, where the link was shared with the participants through WhatsApp groups. The section consists of 10 questions as follows: 6 multiple choice questions and 4 Likert scale questions. The questionnaire entitled "The COVID-19 Pandemic on the Cognitive and Mental Development of Secondary School Students," composed of 10 questions that were divided into 6 sections as follows. Firstly, socio-demographic of students, where there will be 2 questions on age and gender. Secondly, students' performance and expectations, 2 questions on how the pandemic affected students, experiences with the teaching classes, assessments and workload, as well as students' performance and expectations. Next, the social life, 2 questions on students' emotions since the outbreak of COVID-19 crisis and who they would first turn to in different situations. The 4th question is about emotional life. 1 question on students' emotions since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Next, general life circumstances, 4 questions on worries, support measures, and behaviors. And lastly, new norm of education, where there will be 1 question on the effectiveness of the current approach to education system. As for our method of data collection, the questionnaire is prepared bilingually in order to assist the respondents to properly understand the content of each question in Bahasa Malaysia, where each statement is often specified, which will then be transcribed. The questionnaires are provided by the researcher to the Form 3, Form 4 and Form 5 students from the same school. to see if any ambiguous things are omitted. Questionnaire will be read beforehand. The researcher will then receive the questionnaire of each respondent directly online once completed to ensure that respondents have submitted. Next, a data analysis. The convergence of evidence and member check ensures the participants' perspective was understood and interpreted accurately. Furthermore, it was important that each instrument piece of data collected was valid and reliable. Trustworthiness. The researcher will establish the validity of the results, which is setting the credibility of the findings to ensure the findings and interpretations are accurate. Now we will look into ethical issues. One of the ethical concerns addressed in this area is informed consent. Since the researcher is part of the school community, therefore engaging with this institution may be essential. The researcher will also address the consent concern with the research participants. This is accomplished by 1. Informing the participants that the researcher is doing a research. 2. Obtaining their consent to participate, thus notifying respondents that the study is being conducted. Entails providing them with enough information about the research so that they may decide whether or not to participate. That's all from me. Thank you. Next, I'll pass it on to Nadia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi and very good evening. Hi, my name is Nadia binti Mahmud. I am from Group 4. I would like to present about result of analysis, discussions and conclusions. According to the result at table A, something strange here which does not match. 56% students disagree academic performance improved, but at the same time, among them partly disagree academic performance is getting worse. That is 44%. Based on the pie chart in diagram 1 showing the Covid-19 pandemic affected student learning. As much as 22% students agree that very affected and mostly saying that moderately affected. That it's 42%, 30% slightly affected, and the balance almost 6% saying unaffected. Refers to the table B, 30 out of 50 students agree they were closely communicated to their families. Social media friends are second choice, then followed by friends. Teachers among the lowest students refer to communication. At a glance, the table C shows 56% students prefer to sharing a dream with their friends. Family is the one of the most important for students to sharing their help, and the highest among the others item, that is 96%. Look at the table D, there are some noticeable patterns of findings. There is something interesting about data analysis, which is all of emotion students are in the middle. Based on the table E, most concerns by half of the respondents was an educational and virtual life, that is 52%. Pie chart in diagram 2 show about student action if their exam performance was poor despite studying hard. Incidentally, the frequency of the student response was exactly the same. That it's 42% students thinking to get help and try to calm down their own. 10% students are choose to keep quiet, and the balance 6% thinking to run away from home. Refer to diagram 3, pie chart show parents respond when students describe their relationship with their special friends. It is very exciting to find that half of the parents, 50%, understand and support their child. However, 12% there are also obstacles to the relationships. Then, pie chart in diagram 4 show there are something special of findings. 30% respondents say that they will always strive to find the positive aspects of the things encountered in life in the face of COVID-19 pandemic. Based on the table F display about benefit from new norm of education for the students, 64% students say that get always benefits from new norm education in online learning. The both item bringing the percentage to be the same. It is 68%, which sometimes students using systematic reasoning in their approach to problems and using a critical approach to information obtained in life. Moreover, 66% of the students sometimes manage to connect the previous main idea with another knowledge as well. The results of the study illustrate to the researcher that there are respondents who are confused with the new normal situation, for which there are some results of the study findings do not match with each other. Students disagree academic performance improved, but at the same time, among them, partly disagree academic performance is getting worse. Additionally, most of them mastered each subject. Then, majority of students agree they will closely communicate to their families is normal. However, social media friends are second choice after families. The power of social media greatly affects teenagers. Teachers among the lowest students refer to communicate. This is to be feared because academics should take precedence. If students are not going too closely with their teachers, they are difficult to achieve excellence in academics. Besides, various mixed feelings have occurred to students in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. Most concerned by half of the respondents were educational, social life, and family relationships. They are not very concerned about physical health and emotional health, although it is very important for cognitive adolescent development and mental health adolescent development. Hence, we bring student action in case their exam performance was poor, and parents respond when students describe their relationship with their special friends. That it's indeed very positive, which students thinking to get help and try to calm down their own. The rest, although the percentage is quite small but troubling, which thinking to run away from home. This needs to be given due attention. While it is very exciting to find that half of the parents understand and support their child towards their child's special relationships. That is the difference between the parents of the past and the present, where the parents of today are very open-minded, but need to be based on religion and culture. We should respect their choice and decision as long as they are reasonable. And overall, we are thankful that there are a large number of students who took the opportunity, strive to find the positive aspects of the things encountered in life in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, mostly using systematic reasoning in their approach to problems and using a critical approach to information obtained in their life, and manage to connect the previous main idea with another knowledge as well. In conclusion, the new normal in education does pose challenge to adolescents. It seems to be able to affect cognitive and mental health development among secondary school students, which are involved student social life and emotional behaviors, and will indirectly affect student academic performance. The experience of adolescents is very unique in that the adolescents themselves are too complex to understand, especially in terms of emotions. To deal with adolescents, we need to be very careful because they are very sensitive and we should care about them and not underestimate them. This is because it involves several key things that lead to the emergence of a quality adolescent, starting from the development of adolescent from a physical and mental point of view that will eventually produce stable emotion if well formed. And our opinions are we must pay attention and support to the development of adolescents, starting from family institution, teachers in schools, and the surrounding community as well as organizations such as youth clubs. Adolescents should be given the opportunity and space to speak out and give opinions so that their brain's development is not stunted. They do not need to be restrained but only need to be monitored and even need to be led according to the mold we want. We should respect their choice and decision as long as they are reasonable. We need to give them the freedom to act by placing certain limits. All of this is a process of perfecting the development of the adolescent brain, or in other words, towards the maturation of the adolescent mind.